The Last of Us was released on June 14th of 2013. It's a wonderful game that could easily be used to make a case for video games as a form of art. The Last of Us, in only 2 months, has become the fastest selling PlayStation 3 game in only 3 weeks. This makes a lot of sense because I bought the game and I don't even own a PlayStation 3. Since the most appealing feature of this game is the plot, I'm going to try and remain as spoiler-free as possible during this review. The game revolves around your character Joel, a Texan father who is thrust into the role of survivor after the world is destroyed by a fungal cordyceps. The cordyceps infects the human brain, turning people into mindless zombie-like creatures. Cordyceps is actually a real fungal type with over 1,000 types, each affecting a certain type of insect species. The real fungus affects insects, causing them to go insane due to fungal growth in their brain, eventually killing the insect and converting their corpse into a fungal colony that can infect other insects. About an hour into the game, you're introduced to a 14-year-old girl named Ellie. She's without a doubt my favorite companion character that I've ever seen in a game. Her personality is wonderful and it really helps drive the plot. She really adds an amazing narrative to the game by seeing the post-apocalyptic world through the eyes of a girl who was born 6 years after the world ended. The plot itself is a masterpiece. I've never seen such an emotional narrative in a game. The game evokes emotion throughout the entire game with its dirty, grimy visuals and hopeless narrative. The game also has amazingly realistic characters with great personality and depth. The gameplay is somewhat standard for a third-person shooter. The game has a heavy focus on stealth, however most encounters you can just go in guns blazing if you want. Typically, with most encounters, I start out trying to do stealth and end up getting seen and have to finish out the encounter guns blazing. The stealth is really fun in the game, as you can throw bottles and bricks to distract enemies away from where you need to go. The combat encounters can be divided into 2 types, infected encounters and human encounters. Humans are far smarter than infected and typically have weapons. Humans will also flank you and use much smarter combat tactics than the infected will. There are 4 types of infected: walkers, runners, clickers, and bloaters, each requiring their own tactics to remain stealth and to kill. Walkers and runners can actually see you and will attack if they see you, however they're fairly easy to sneak up on and kill. But if one sees you, the entire room will attack. Clickers raise the difficulty a bit by being unable to be killed by choking and need a shiv to kill. They also can one-hit kill you if they get too close. Clickers see using sound, kinda like bats, so it's imperative when dealing with them that you remain quiet and unseen. The game sometimes feels a little broken when clickers are around because sometimes they'll see you even if you're not moving. The most difficult of all the infected types is the bloater. It's a tank infected that has a ranged attack. Encounters with bloaters always feel like an ammo and item check because you'll find yourself dumping everything you have into these guys, oftentimes with little results. The Last of Us also features a multiplayer mode called Factions. It's pretty good, it doesn't feel like an afterthought like many games that focus on single player and tack on a multiplayer mode. The multiplayer mode feels a lot like the combat in the single player mode and really makes you feel like the situation is quite dire. You die almost as quickly as you would in most Twitch shooters. Graphically, The Last of Us doesn't even look like a game from the current generation. The lighting effects and textures in this game make it look almost next-gen. The environments are stunning as well. Sometimes I like to stop and just take in the world around me. According to PriceCharting.com, The Last of Us is currently worth about $40 for a used copy. Since this game has only been out for a few months, it makes total sense. I would recommend picking up a new copy, however, because the game is really good and Naughty Dog really deserves the sales for creating such a wonderful product. If you own a PlayStation 3 and haven't picked up The Last of Us, you really should, as I think it's one of the best games of this generation. Leading up to the game's release, I had planned on buying a PS3 to play it, however a friend of mine lent me his console to play the game. But the real question is, if you don't own a PlayStation 3, is it worth it to buy one just to play The Last of Us? The short answer would be no. However, if you have any interest in any of the other PlayStation exclusive series, like Uncharted or Gran Turismo, the investment can become far more worth it. The Last of Us easily ranks in my top 5 games that have came out in this generation, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Many review web pages gave the game a 10 out of 10, however I don't fully agree with that score. The game is amazing, yet it does have several flaws with its combat, especially with the clickers. This is easy to look past, however, because the plot shines through as possibly the greatest story ever told in the game. If you have any interest in survival or stealth games, this is without a doubt a must-play.